Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to the workshop. It's a beautiful Saturday here in central Illinois. I hope the weather's good where you are. But I'm back in the workshop. I've got two guitars on the bench. They are both American, U.S.-made Fender Stratocasters. This one, I believe, is a 2012 Fender American Strat. And then the gray one, the burst colored one, let me get you on the overhead. This one here is a newer, I think 2017 maybe. But this one is whenever Fender went to their, it's not just an American Strat, it's their American Professional Series or whatever they've entitled that. But anyway, they're in the shop for some work and a couple of things. The main thing that we're going to do is we're going to play musical pickups. We're taking the two pickups that are here along with this third one. These three are a set of pickups made by DiMarzio, and two of them are Area 67 pickups. The third one is an Area 61. We're moving these three pickups to this guitar. So that's one job. And then these are the original Fat 50s, these three pickups here, the original Fat 50 pickups that were in this American Strat. And two of them are going back in here. This third bridge pickup here is a Seymour Duncan pickup. Once I get this off of here, I'll make note of the model so I can tell you exactly. But I think it's some kind of David Gilmour bridge pickup made by Seymour Duncan. So that's going to stay. There will be Fat 50s plus the Seymour Duncan pickup here. This guitar, the same guy owns both of these, plays a ton, has played, especially this Strat here has been played a ton since he got it, and it is showing some signs of fret wear, especially on these where these non-wound strings are. There's some grooves down into the frets a little bit. And so I've talked to him about that. We're going to take the 9.5 inch radius block and going to do a fret leveling, recrowning, polish. I've showed you that in other videos, so I'm not going to include any of the fret work in the guitar or on the guitar in this video. If you want, I've done fret jobs in other videos, and you can go see how I do that in the previous video. And I do them all the same: flatten the neck, level the frets, crown the frets, polish the frets. Okay, so that's kind of the drill on that. The other thing we need to address, actually on both of these, is if I take the straight edge, and I'll show you on this one here. If I take the straight edge and I run down the middle of the fretboard, I actually hit the saddle, and we should be just a little bit above that. So both guitars, this one is the gray one is actually worse as far as the neck angle. You've heard me talk about neck angle before as well. That needs to be addressed. The nice thing that we have, and see if I could show you here really quickly. I don't want this intro part to be too long, but probably have to go back to the overhead and zoom in a little bit so you can see. There we go. So both of these guitars have the neck, what they call, I think it's called neck tilt adjustment. And this, something to point with here. And what it is, there's an Allen screw down in here that's the same size as the truss rod adjusting screw. And so how this works, and I'll show you more about that when we get there, but loosen this off, and I'll do this while the strings are off, but loosen the neck bolts, tighten this screw, and there's a metal insert inside the neck that the screw pushes out on, and it changes the neck angle. So I'm going to zoom that one back out. Let me kind of switch the cameras around. I like my software. I'm learning it more and more. But the neck angle needs to be adjusted a little bit so we can get the proper string height here. So right now, and again, I'm way over exaggerating, but this neck is headed toward the body, and in that direction, and it should be headed away from the body in that direction. Again, a way over exaggeration, of course. So we're going to do a little bit of an adjustment there to compensate for that, so we can get a good, really good setup on both of these guitars, and we'll make them both the same. That way, when he's switching from one guitar to the other, they'll be really playable. We're going to give everything a good clean, new strings, and all that kind of good stuff. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pause this part of the video, and I think what I'll just let the camera roll on some of the electronic stuff, and just kind of let you see some of that. It's not difficult. It's basically just taking all these screws out and then unsoldering the pickups, resoldering them. Hopefully they've been done, so all we have to do is unsolder and resolder them, and then maybe put, you know, some zip ties or whatever to hold everything in place and keep the wires in their proper location and everything clean and neat and all that kind of stuff. And then we're going to do setup after that. So let me pause you, and I'm going to get the strings off here, and I'll be back with you when I'm ready to make some progress, and I'll just bring you along for the ride. Okay, back with you here. And as you can see, I've actually started with the gray Strat because it has two of the pickups that we need. Nope, put you on the overhead here. Has two of the pickups that we need for the that are going in the other Strat. And I've done some Strat kits and all of that, and people talk about shielding and whether to shield or not to shield and all that. And this, folks, is a Fender American standard Stratocaster, somewhere in the tune, if I had to venture a guess, in the $1,200 to $1,400 range of a guitar, and there's absolutely no shielding in this guitar. You know, there's grounding, of course, to ground the entire circuit, but it's not like copper shielded and all that kind of stuff. So, anywho, if that answers any of that. Can only move this kind of so much because you've got a couple of wires here that go ground for the bridge, and then the wires go over to the output jack. So we're kind of limited. I have some things ready. Here's some extra wire just in case we end up needing it. I'm going to lay a little towel across here just so nothing takes a chance on, you know, we don't want to take a chance on, you know, getting solder on the guitar at all. So yeah, and I've got my solder. My soldering iron is nice and warm. Now here's what we're taking off. I'm not sure what's up with this. It's just a piece of tape, and some wires look like they've been soldered together. We'll slide a piece of heat shrink over that and take care of that. I'm not a fan of the electrical tape there. All right, so let me see. I'm just going to follow these back, and you know, you just make note of where things are so you can put things back where they go. You know, we're not changing the circuit here, the wiring or anything. We're just swapping pickups. So I will make some notes, and I'm going to unsolder the two wires. This one is the ground. This one goes to the 5-way switch, the middle position on the 5-way switch. The other one goes to the position here. So when we move them around, and then this is, so again, if we're looking at this is bridge pickup, middle pickup, neck pickup. So they're all wired into the 5-way and all of that. So we're just going to undo this, put things back the way that it goes. And again, we're putting the Fat 50s back in, two of the Fat 50s back in this. And with that, I'm just cleaning and adding a little solder, tinning the tip, I believe is what they call that, just so it works well. So I think this first one I'm going to take out. I like to a lot of times work with a little pair of pliers, and I'm going to try just not to block you, but let the camera just roll a little bit while I do this. Alright, so there's one. And I like to use just enough. I mean, there are people who will say, you know, you can't hurt the pickups or the switches or pots or anything like that with too much heat, but I like to keep the soldering iron on there as little as possible while I'm doing stuff. And actually on that ground, I think I'm just going to take some really thin or really fine cutters, and I'm just going to snip so I don't mess with the rest of the ground of the circuit. Alright, so there's that one disconnected. That's the, and just get rid of that electrical tape. I'm not a fan of electrical tape in there. We'll put I've got a whole slew of heat shrink tubing. So we'll find one that's a good size for that, and we'll put some heat shrink on there. The soldering iron will just heat that up and melt it. So, all right, so we'll know that goes in the middle position on the other guitar on the 5-way switch. And let's see. So that takes care of that one. The other one is here. And so we'll just do the same thing. We'll heat this up, disconnect the wire. There we go. And then this one's also grounded. Actually, yeah, I'm going to do those grounds a little bit differently. So let me just disconnect that whole pool of stuff there. There we go. And we'll redo the ground wire from the other pickup as well. So clean that up. Alright, so there are those two pickups. I've got to do the same thing on the other guitar. So again, I'll flip this back like so. And there's screws on either side that have to come out, and springs and all of that. You don't want it to shoot all across the room, so you know, be careful as you're taking those out. But the spring is here, the screw is here. I can take one out for you, I guess. Again, a good thing to get the right size screwdriver when you're doing this, but you kind of want to hold everything, get the screw loose. Got a screw loose. My wife's been telling me that for years. I know, right? There's a joke there. So here's the spring and the screw, and now that side is loose. And so I'm going to do the same with these others. And I think what I'm going to do is pause you again, and then I'll do the same, get the pickups out of, because we're going to use this one. So we're changing all three pickups in the other guitar. So let me do this. I'll get these two out. Actually, I'll get this one on the bench. Get these two out. Let me go ahead. I'll solder these two back in. But let me pause, get these two out, get these two at least mounted, and then I'll bring you back when I'm ready to reattach the wires. Okay, back with you. And what I've done here is I've gone ahead and I've taken out, actually you can see the two that I've taken out here. This is the third that's going in the other guitar, right? So what I've done is I've mounted the two Fat 50s that are actually original to this guitar, and I could tell, you know, just because I've done this, that which one went where, so I just kind of put them where I knew they needed to go. And what I've done here is I like the vintage style wiring where it's just the cloth and you just have to push it back. Need to do a little bit. I'm going to trim just the tip of that wire there, and then just the tip of this one as well. That'll make it just a little bit easier to solder. I've already taken, let me go back to the overhead and maybe zoom a little bit in. Again, I don't want to have too many issues with this camera doing this refocus thing. Well, I guess it's not going to cooperate at all, is it? Alright. Alright, we'll do it like that. I've taken the ground wires for all the pickups and I've actually soldered them together, and those will go on the back of the pot here because there's already a pool of solder there. So I'm going to heat that up. That's the first thing I'm going to do. So let me go ahead. I'll do that while you're watching here. Maybe it will. Oh, there it goes. So we'll get it where it's flowing really nice, and then that's all there is to that. Let that get nice and cool. So now the grounds are done. Okay. Now, if you remember, hopefully you remember, the middle pickup, I'm going to do that one now. That went to this lug here on the switch, so I'm just going to, there's already solder there, I'm just going to warm that up. And that should be good there. So that takes care of that one. And then we'll do the same thing with the neck pickup, and it goes on this lug here. And you have to be careful, you don't want to burn yourself. And then when you're done with the braided line, let me see, I've got some of it here. See if I can hold it up here and show you. You push the shielding, or just push the cloth back, and it exposes. Can you see that? Exposes, and then you just pull the cloth back over when you're done, and it keeps everything nice and protected so wires can't touch and all of that. And then these just kind of fold like so they go back in the channel here. We could put, if I had some small tie wraps, we could put a couple on there just to hold everything, but not sure I have any. Give me just a second, I'm going to see if I do. I might have some small tie wraps we could put on there. Pays to be kind of a hoarder of things. So let me get couple of those, and we'll get a couple more for the other guitar because I'm sure we might need those. And I think I am going to put a couple of tie wraps on there. So thank you for your patience on that. Let me just, we'll do, and then we'll test everything before we put the screws back in and all of that. So just a second to deal with this, and I won't pull this super tight, but just enough to kind of hold everything in place like that. And I'm going to put another one here, and you don't really want to cut off this excess wire because the next guy that comes in to do something, if I'm not the next guy, whoever the next guy is, won't like you very much if you don't leave them any extra wire. I mean, I keep some of this vintage style wire just in case. I just keep some in the workshop here. But all right, so there's that. It's a nice, neat looking, I think you'd agree with that, nice, neat looking job. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set this back down in here. Helps if I at least act like I know what I'm doing, right? All right, so now we've got the two Fat 50s and the Seymour Duncan. And the Seymour Duncan is an SSL 5, by the way, SSL-5. And if you're interested in that, you can look that up. But let me go ahead, find my cable here, plug that in, turn the amp on, and we'll make sure everything. Do have volume coming from the amp, and this is a crappy, just a little crappy benchtop amp here, but let me on the 5-way. Okay, let me explain the 5-way first. So all the way in that position should be, if it's wired correctly, will be the neck pickup. Position number 2 will be the neck in the middle. Position number 3, middle only. Position number 4, middle bridge. Position number 5, bridge only. So let's test that. I'm on the, should be only the neck. Can hear that? Nothing. Nothing. Oh, turn the volume up a little more maybe. There you go. Nothing. Nothing. Next position should be these two guys. Nothing on the bridge. Okay? So that's good. Middle should be only the middle. So nothing. Middle. Nothing. Good. Now we should have the rear two. And nothing up there, which we do. And now we should have nothing, nothing, bridge only. And so everything appears to be working correctly. So I think we're safe to go ahead, turn that amp off. I think I'm safe to go ahead, put the screws back in this one. And then what I'll do, put this one back together really quickly. I'll get the other one apart and bring you back and let you see a little bit of that one. So I'll be right back with you. All right, back with you. Let me just show you really quickly. I've pulled, you can see them there, the original set of pickups that were in this guitar. And I've put in the DiMarzio, and we did area 67, 67, and then an area 61 here for the bridge. And let me just kind of show you, if I can here, what I did. The wiring that I did without you was, if you remember where that piece of tape was, I actually got rid of the tape, and then I hooked all the ground wires from each of the pickups, and then a pigtail. Now, can you see that? So this is my one ground that will go to the back of the pot. I need to strip a little more wire off of there. So let me do that really quickly. All right, that stripped off there. So, and then I'm looking at the switch here. Again, it's the 5-way switch, but I'm looking at the side where the 3 pickups get hooked in. And I'm looking at kind of the side of the switch that's closest to the edge of the pick guard. And it goes bridge, middle. There's 3 prongs that get soldered where the pickups get soldered onto. So I'm thinking of them like, if you're looking at the switch, like my fingers. Yep, let me get you in the camera here. So my fingers are the 3 prongs I'm looking at. So I'm looking at 1, 2, 3. That's going to be bridge, middle, neck. So 1, 2, 3, bridge, middle, neck, left to right, just so I orient myself, all that kind of stuff. I've pre-tinned everything, pre-soldered, pre-filled the slots with the solder, and I'm going to use, because this is really thin wire here, I'm going to, so I don't burn myself, again, it's bridge, middle, neck. I've got the neck wire, so that goes up here in the third spot. So there's that one. Let me find, yep, here's the middle, so that will go middle to middle. That one's easy, right? Okay, and then bridge to the first one there. Again, you could do them in order if it doesn't really matter. If you want to be a little pickier about what order. Alright, so there's that. I'm going to go ahead, do the same with, let's see, just so we keep everything nice and neat and clean. I'm going to put that ground wire underneath those other wires. And then this guy will go to the back of the pot. So let me some of the stuff out of the way so I don't melt wires or anything like that. Melt some of the solder here real quick, and I'm probably blocking you. Let me maybe if I throw you on the overhead, will that help? Probably not, because it's not wanting to cooperate. It's really dark for some reason. Let me see if this will help. Oh, that helps a little bit. Maybe back out just a tad. All right, so we're going on the back of the pot with the ground wire. And I'm going to put a little bit of solder on that wire. And again, I've got a towel here just so I don't want to take a chance on dripping solder at all on this finish of this guitar. Really, really nice guitar here. And that, I think I'm going to put a little more solder on the back of that one. Didn't feel real like I got a real good hold on it, but let's see if I can do it without it popping off of here. Alright, that feels good. Now, I want to flip this around here really quickly, and we'll just test it. And again, the 5-way switch, make sure we got a little bit of volume. The 5-way switch, I've got it all the way that way, which should be only the neck. These other two, nothing. This should be the neck in the middle. Nothing. Only the middle, so nothing. Now middle and bridge, nothing here, and then nothing, nothing, bridge. All right, so that's working really well. Turn that off. And I'm going to do the same thing I did on the other. I'm going to clean these wires up a little bit. You watched me do that, so I will kind of pull these wires in, and so they fit in the channel really nicely, and so they're not overly snug or anything like that. Put a couple of zip ties on. I'm not going to make you watch that. You see that everything works. So I'm just going to clean this up, flip this over, put the screws back in, and we got to do frets on the other guitar, but this one we could go ahead and put the strings on and set it up. So let me go ahead and get all of this buttoned up, and I'll bring you back. All right, got you back, and getting ready to, I'm going to, as I mentioned to you, actually got the other Strat taken care of, and you saw most of what I did on that with the electronics and all of that. The electronics are installed in this one, the two Fat 50s, and then we didn't do anything here. We just left the existing pickup that he had. I did a bunch of cleanup. It really needed a good clean, so I did that. And I've got my 9.5 radius block all ready for that. But I kind of wanted to explain to you this tilt feature. And I've got you can see that I've got the right sized Allen for that. It's the same for the truss rod adjustment as it is for the tilt. And let's see if I can show you, maybe this angle here would be good to show you kinda why we're going to mess with this. And get my straight edge. If I run my straight edge down the fretboard, and I just am in the middle of the fretboard, so no big deal there, I'm hitting the saddles, and it should be just even with, or just, and I mean I do have some room to move a couple of them down. This one's the lower side, the E and A strings especially are already dunked down pretty good, so we're going to do a bit of a neck adjustment, because imagine this is the ruler is the neck, and it's going this way, and I'm over exaggerating, of course. It's going this way instead of this way, so we're going to adjust that, and Fender has given us the ability to be able to do that on this guitar without having to put a shim in the neck, and that's a good thing for what we're going to do here. So let me see if the overhead camera will cooperate. It's been doing this jumpy autofocus thing, which is kind of annoying, but it's what it's been doing. All right, let me get something to use as a pointer here. You can see we've got the four. Camera's being interesting. Let's see if this will help it out a little bit. I think that helps a little bit. Alright, so we got the four neck screws. We're going to loosen those off. And then if you see that hole right there is the neck tilt. And there's a set screw in there. It's got an Allen head on it. And on the inside, or at the bottom of this neck, so if I were to take the neck off, you would see there's a metal plug, round metal plug that's inserted into this neck that screw pushes against. And as we tighten that screw, which we're going to do, it pushes the set screw, goes out, which pushes the neck. You know, let's say this is the neck, and that set screw so it pushes the neck like that. I hope that makes sense. So we're able to do that tilt. Let me grab a screwdriver here, and again, I don't like to with the neck screws, I like to use the hand screwdriver, and with the way these screws are popping loose like that, I'm guessing this neck has never been off of this guitar. Alright, so I've got the neck screws loosened up, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it, and this is can be a bit of a trial and error, so I'm going to give this about a quarter of a turn, maybe a little more actually, not quite a half, maybe a third, and then I'm going to tighten everything back. So snug them up first, and then we'll tighten. Nice and snug and tight there on those. You know, I'm a fan of always snug is good enough. On those, you want to make sure that they're pretty secure, because you don't want your guitar neck going anywhere. All right, let me bring you back to that view there. We'll put the guitar back in the cradle there. That might help things a little bit. Let's see what that did for us. Yep, I think I'm going to roll with that. I can always adjust it again if I need to. I'm clearing, and again, there's a lot of adjustment on these up and down on the saddles still. I just want to be able to get a really good setup. So that, yeah, I think I'm gonna roll with that. I can always loosen the strings, flip it back over, and readjust it if I needed to. But I just wanted to show you how that just that third or so of a turn that I did, instead of me now hitting the saddle, I am barely clearing it, which is ideal. I'm not hitting it anymore though. And these ones that are over here that are almost all the way to the deck, I'll be able to lift those up some. So that'll be good. So yeah, that helped a lot. So I just kind of wanted to explain that tilt feature to you. And so I'm going to pause you here, and I'm going to go ahead. Again, like I said, I'm not going to show the fret job. I've done that in other videos. So I'm going to get frets done on this guitar so it can go back. That's all it's got done, frets and a setup, and I did the setup on the other guitar. So for you, wherever this falls, if this falls in the middle and I haven't done the setup yet, you'll see that on the other guitar. But I figured I wouldn't show them. I'm going to do the exact same setup on both guitars, so they're both identical. So anywho, still trying to figure out if I'm going to be able to record a demo or not. But if that happens, that'll be at the very end of the video, and hopefully able to do that for you. But I just wanted to show you that little tilt feature. Okay, welcome back. I've got strings on the guitar, and they are not tuned, but they're still stretching. Alright, now, the issue with this guitar is the string action was way too low, and you notice I haven't cut these off yet. I don't do that until the end, just in case I need to take the strings off. Then it just makes that easier. Alright, let's go ahead. I'm going to do the setup here, my normal setup. Zoom you back and put you on the overhead here. That might be easier for you. I've got 18 thousandths here, and honestly that feels it's a snug, which is what I like. It's a snug 18, so that's good. That's really good. It's a snug 18. All right, now we'll check the, we probably need to get the string height at least in the, well, All right, we'll come back and check it again. Let's check the neck relief. And again, I like to have about 10 thousandths or so on an electric guitar for sure. I've got the proper sized, if we need to make an adjustment, I can do that, proper size Allen wrench. And so again, to do this, I capo on the first fret, and then I fret. You can fret at the body joint, or you can fret on a Strat. You can go all the way down pretty much till the end. Let's see how the body joint does. Again, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're going to check this area of the neck right here and see how we're doing. That actually feels really, really good. So I'm going to check the other side. So again, fretting the high E string and then checking 7, 8, 9. It's a little snugger on the treble side, but that's kind of typical. But I'm okay with that. So I'm going to leave that for right now. And what I want to do right now is we really need to dial in our string height, because it's way too low on this guitar. So here's the strings, by the way. Diodario, nickel wound, XL. They're XL light, so they're 10s. So 10 to 46. That's what these guitars are getting. So we'll check string height, then I'll show you how I do the pickup height, and then intonation is, we need to check that as well and make sure that's all dialed in. So here we go. Let's check all of this. Let me find my gauge, because some of you will argue with me till you're blue in the face that it makes a difference on playing position. And let me check here. And I am, let's see, 1, 2, 3. I am bang on 4/64 on that E string. Okay? So here we go. I'm going to prove this to you. Back down. I've got this saddle right here. This side is at 4/64. This side is at 5/64. And if I put that under there, that is 4/64. That's on it. 4/64. So on a guitar like this, now I get it. If you got a heavy instrument, like if you go back a few videos and you see the 5-string Ibanez, so then I understand that, if it's a heavy instrument. But at the 12th fret right now, I'm sitting at 4/64 on that E string. Here's 17, and I'm at 5. So we could, if we wanted to use the 17, we'd have to come back down a little bit. And I think on a Strat it is the 17th fret, now that I think about it. So I'm going to lower. Again, you can always lower under string tension, but never raise it under string tension. You don't want to break anything. And these saddles adjust individually, and you want to keep them parallel to the top of the guitar. I see people jack around with this all the time. All right, 17th fret, and we are at 4/64. So I think we're going to go for 4/64 at the 17th fret all the way across. And again, that's done by adjusting let me zoom in here just a little bit, maybe give you a better shot of it. That's done. I've got, again, this is a small Allen, and it goes down in these There's 2 per saddle. There's 6 saddles, 2 screws per saddle. And again, you want them parallel to the top of the guitar. I see them all the time come in and they're all jacked around. One side's up higher than the other and all of that. You want these straight. So I'm going to go through, and again, I'm locked in on this 12th fret because I work on so many acoustic guitars, and we check string height at the 12th fret. But I think on the Strat it's at the 7th, or Fender spec is at the 17th. So that would be, this is 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So I'm going to measure from the 17th fret. And I'm going to check all of these and adjust them. And then when I get ready to do the pickup height, I want to show you how I do that. And I'll bring you back when I'm ready to do that. So I've got this one good at 4/64 at the 17th fret. I'm going to do all of them, make sure everything works and nothing frets out and all that kind of stuff, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, back with you. Got all of the strings at 4/64 at the 17th fret. Everything works. I checked them all up and down the neck. I played. Everything works. All right, so we've swapped out these pickups, so I'm going to set them at what the Fender spec is for the pickup height. Now, here's what I use, and I just went on, I love Amazon. I just went on Amazon and I ordered these pieces of brass rod. I have one that's 1/8 inch. I have one that's 3/32 of an inch. And those are the Fender specs. So on the bass side, from the top of the pickup to the bottom of the string, 1/8 of an inch. And on the treble side, or the high E side, 3/32. And so what I did is I just ordered this brass rod and just put a bend in it with a pair of pliers so that I can put it under here. And brass is important because it's not magnetic. It won't stick. It won't stick to the pickup, so it's not magnetic. You definitely want a brass rod. Now you can go and buy these things that come in a set with a ring on them and all of that and pay a bunch of money for them if you want to. This is a lot more affordable. So alright, to check this, fret the last fret. So I'm pushing down on the last fret, and then we want 1/8 of an inch between, and this one is too close. The neck pickup is too close. Middle is too close. Bridge is too close. So we're going to dunk these down. And a lot of this is personal preference. You know, string height, pickup height. If we find, once he starts playing this, that one of these pickups happens to be not as even across playing the guitar, you know, it's not as loud as some of the others, then we can raise or lower. It's not a big deal. Oh, went too much on that one. What I'm doing is I'm using this like a feeler gauge, so I'm feeling if I can touch the top of the string. I went a little bit too much. Yeah, that's good, because I can feel the top of the post and I can feel the string like a feeler gauge, but it's not pushing up on the string. You want to just be able to feel it. So that's good. So I'm going to bring this one back up just a touch. Not much, just a touch. Oh, maybe a little more. That one. There we go. And I just go back, I want them all roughly the same. And they feel the same. So go back. This one needs to come up just a little bit more. And again, I think I said this already, but these are just recommendations. So if your personal preference is something different, then by all means, you set it the way that you want it. These But if you get too close, the magnets inside the pickups can throw off the intonation on the guitar because the magnets are pretty strong. So we'll let him play this. Alright. That feels pretty good to me. Now we'll do the other side. Same thing, only with the 330 seconds this time, not the 8th. Pushing the last fret. And that's too far away. It's too far away. And those are all too far away. So we're going to bring those up. Let's see. Up. And they needed to come up a fair amount. So they will be, the pickups will be closer on the treble side than the bass side, which kind of makes sense because the strings are thinner. Well, nailed 2 out of 3. This one needs to come up a little bit more. Yep, even more. Oh, and of course I overdid it. So some of this stuff just, it gets a little bit fiddly as you're messing with it. You know, you got to go back and forth and back and forth. Check, recheck. Alright. I think I'm going. I'm going to lower this one just a tad. And I think I'm going with that. I really am. I'm back and forth enough. We'll let him play it, see what he thinks about it. Plug it back in, see what we think about it. But we'll let him play it for sure. Alright, now we're going to check the intonation on the guitar, and we'll see how that comes out. And I have a tuner on my phone here, a tuner app. That's what I use. Works really well, seems to be pretty accurate. And to test intonation, we tune, and if you can, let me bring this down so you can see. I'll show you one. So we got E, and then we go to the 12th fret, and we have E. So our intonation is good on that one. B. B's in tune, 12th fret. Can you see that there? We're a little bit sharp. Harmonic is in tune. So the string's in tune. When I fret it at the 12th, we'll go from a little bit sharp. Yeah, we're just a little bit sharp, and then it comes back down. So I'll probably adjust it a little bit down this way. Come back out just a touch so you can see where I'm talking about here. I think I moved the guitar on you. So there's screws back here that move the saddle back and forth, or toward the headstock or toward the tailpiece to make the string longer or shorter. And the way that I've always, the easiest way that I've understood intonation is if it's sharp, the string is short, so you need to make it longer, which means the saddle needs to go back, or we need to run this screw in, which pulls the saddle back. So again, we're in tune, fret it, and we're sharp. G is dead on. Helps if you tune the right string. Again, these strings are still stretching, but there's D, and it's dead on the 12th fret. And then, so there's A open, 12th fret. E, in tune, open, 12th fret. And E might just be a little sharp as well. So I'm going to adjust those. I'll run it's the B string and the E string. I'm going to run those screws in, pull those saddles back just a touch until I get the intonation right where it needs to be on those two strings. And then retune, and this guy's done. So let me, if I can get him to play the guitars and let you hear how they sound, maybe I'll try to deliver them and have him play them. And then I'll record that and tack that on at the end. But for now, I'm going to sign off and just say thanks for watching. Thanks for joining me on the channel and the workshop. As always, I'd love for you to thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel, all that kind of stuff. And thanks for watching. I'll see you again next time in the workshop.